You know that moment when you're trying to speak English, you do know the words, but somehow it still comes out slow, broken, or not quite right? Like your thoughts are racing, but your words trip on the way out?
Ugh, yeah. You're mid sentence, and suddenly everything just falls apart. You pause, hesitate, feel awkward, and even if the other person understands you, you walk away thinking, why didn't that sound like it did in my head?
Exactly. If that's ever happened to you, you're in the right place. Welcome back to Let's English Together, your chill English podcast with genuine conversations, simple habits, and real life struggles to help you speak more naturally, like it's just part of your day. I'm Simon, and with me is Monis, someone who doesn't just understand English learners, she is one, and she knows exactly how it feels.
Hey, glad to be here. And yeah, that's totally me. I've had those messy moments too, where I can speak English, just not fluently, not yet. If you've ever felt stuck, slow, or like your words just don't flow, this episode is for you. And we're not just here to talk about why that happens. We're diving into what's actually going on in your brain when you freeze mid sentence and what you can do to start sounding smoother, more natural, and more like yourself in English.
Oh, and if this is your first time here, you'll meet Suzy later in the episode. She's our friendly AI assistant, and she'll break down 5 super useful English phrases you can start using right away to sound more fluent. So first, let's talk about why fluency feels hard sometimes. Most people assume fluency is about speaking really fast or never making mistakes. But honestly, that's not what real fluency means. Real fluency is about speaking comfortably, clearly, and naturally without constantly stopping to think or fix your sentences. But here's the catch. Most English learners, especially intermediate learners, are actually trained to do the exact opposite. In school, you're taught to always speak correctly, to never make mistakes, and to build perfect sentences from scratch. And even though accuracy is great in theory in real conversations, it can totally kill your fluency.
Right, and here's why. Real conversations aren't perfect. Native speakers don't speak in perfect sentences all the time. We pause, hesitate, repeat words, and say things like, or so anyway, all the time. But when you're still learning, your brain thinks any tiny mistake or hesitation is a disaster. And that makes you stop. It makes you rethink every word you say. So instead of speaking smoothly, you constantly pause to check yourself. And that's exactly when fluency breaks down.
Yeah, exactly. It's like trying to ride a bike while constantly worrying about every tiny wobble. Every time you feel yourself losing balance, you hit the brakes and stop completely. But to ride smoothly, you have to learn to trust the bike and trust yourself, even when it feels a little shaky. Fluency works exactly the same way. If you stop every time you make a small mistake or lose a word, the conversation never gets going. And the sad thing is, it's not even your fault. You're just doing exactly what you've been taught, being careful, accurate, and cautious. But that's not how real speaking happens.
And honestly, this expectation of perfection puts a huge pressure on you. Instead of enjoying conversations and expressing yourself naturally, you become stressed and hesitant. It's exhausting, right? But here's the good news. You don't have to stay stuck in this perfection mindset. You can actually retrain your brain to be more comfortable, natural, and fluent, even when your English isn't textbook perfect. And that's exactly what we're going to help you do today.
But before we jump into the practical tips, let's quickly look at what actually happens in your brain when you suddenly get stuck mid-sentence. This isn't just a random failure, it's actually your brain's way of protecting you, which sounds weird, but stay with me. When you feel nervous, uncertain, or under pressure, your brain activates something called the affective filter. Think of this like a security system that kicks in whenever your brain senses potential embarrassment or risk. And what does this security system do? It literally blocks access to the words you already know. Your vocabulary is still there, but your brain hides it because it's worried about you messing up and feeling bad.
Wait, so my brain is actually blocking my own vocabulary to protect me? That's kind of ironic, isn't it? But it makes total sense. Like, have you ever noticed how you can easily remember words when you're relaxed, but the minute someone asks you something quickly, the words vanish? It's your brain's defense mechanism kicking in, trying to avoid mistakes by stopping you from speaking at all.
Exactly. And there's one more thing happening at the same time: working memory overload. Your working memory is like your brain's temporary storage, where you hold all the pieces you need to form a sentence, like grammar rules, vocabulary, pronunciation, even translation from your native language. But when you try to juggle too many things at once, it overloads. Imagine holding 5 tennis balls in your hand. Then someone throws a sixth. You drop everything. The same happens to your brain when you try to speak English and overthink every detail. It crashes your fluency immediately.
And that's the real reason speaking feels hard. Not because you don't know English, but because you're trying to juggle too many things at once. You're trying to be accurate, perfect, and fast, all at the same time. And that's impossible for anyone. Even native speakers struggle if they overthink. So if you feel like you're constantly freezing mid-sentence, please know this: there's nothing wrong with you or your English. Your brain is just overloaded and trying too hard to protect you from mistakes.
Right? And knowing this is the first step to fixing it. Because once you understand why your brain gets stuck, you can learn practical ways to keep it calm, comfortable, and relaxed when you speak. And that's exactly what we're going to get into next: clear, simple habits that will help you build real, natural fluency step by step. All right, now let's dive deeper into what fluency actually is, and more importantly, how you can achieve it in real life conversations. Most people think fluency means speaking fast, speaking perfectly, or never making a mistake. But that's honestly not it at all. Fluency is about comfort. It's about your ability to stay connected to the conversation and express yourself smoothly, naturally, without constantly pausing or doubting yourself. So let's talk about some deeper strategies to build real fluency, beyond just memorizing words or grammar rules.
Exactly. Fluency is like having a conversation in your first language. You don't think about each word, you think about your ideas. One of the most powerful things you can do right now is to practice speaking in chunks. Let me explain this a bit because it's really interesting. Instead of trying to build each sentence from scratch, you learn short groups of words or phrases that naturally fit together. Things like, by the way, on my way, make sense, or what do you think? When you use these chunks, you don't waste mental energy forming each sentence piece by piece because your brain sees these chunks as a single unit. Imagine you're at work and someone asks you for your opinion. Instead of slowly putting words together like, well, I think it might be good, you quickly pull out the ready-made chunk. Yeah, makes sense. Or I totally agree with you. Your speech flows effortlessly and your confidence stays high.
Right. Now let's talk about something that might surprise a few people, but it's actually one of the easiest, most powerful ways to boost your fluency: using conversational fillers. Those little sounds or words we often think of as bad habits, like, well, you know, I mean, but here's the truth. Native speakers use them all the time. And not just because we're lazy. Fillers are actually tools. They give your brain just a second more to catch up, to find the word, to finish the thought. They act like soft cushions that smooth over the silence so things don't feel awkward. And when you use them naturally, they make you sound more relaxed, more confident, and honestly, more fluent.
Yeah. And I'll give you a really simple example from last weekend. I was at a friend's birthday dinner, and someone new at the table asked me a question I wasn't expecting. Something like, "So, what kind of stuff do you talk about on your podcast?" And for a second, my brain just froze. I had ideas in my head, but I needed a second to figure out how to explain it. So I said, hmm, well, it's kind of like, real life English stuff, like how people actually talk, think, feel, not textbook stuff. And the funny thing is, if I had tried to jump straight into a perfect answer, I probably would have stumbled more. But by giving myself a second with that little, well, you know, my brain got the time it needed, and I could ease into the sentence naturally. The conversation stayed smooth, and I didn't feel nervous or robotic.
Exactly. That's the whole point. Fillers aren't just noise, they're like a pause button that lets you stay in the conversation without freezing. And the more you practice using them, even in casual situations like chatting with a coworker or ordering food, the more you realize that fluency isn't about always knowing the perfect word immediately. It's about knowing how to stay connected while your brain catches up.
Yes. And here's another deep fluency tip that I've personally used, and I promise it works. Start practicing thinking directly in English, especially about the small, everyday stuff. And I don't just mean doing it once or twice when you're feeling motivated. I mean making it a real daily habit. Even if you're just brushing your teeth, walking to the store, or standing in line waiting for coffee, those little moments are golden for fluency training. For example, the other day I was cleaning my room. Normally, I just zone out or think random things in my native language. But instead, I said to myself in English, "Okay, I'll fold the clothes first." Ugh, where's that other sock? Why are socks always disappearing? Anyway, after this, I'll vacuum, and then I deserve a coffee break. Was it perfect? Nope. Did anyone hear me? Nope. But did it help? Absolutely, because every time you choose to think in English, you're showing your brain, hey, this language isn't just for tests or formal situations. It's how I talk to myself, too. And over time, your brain stops treating English like a second language that needs to be activated. It just becomes part of your mental voice. That's when fluency starts to feel natural, not like a performance, but like how you simply exist in the world. No pressure, no translation, just you thinking in English as you live your day.
That's a great one. Another key strategy to build real fluency is practicing storytelling. Let's break down why storytelling specifically helps. When you tell stories, even short ones, you naturally organize your thoughts into a clear structure. Your brain learns how to introduce an idea, build on it, and then conclude smoothly. This process creates a mental blueprint for fluency. Here's how you can use this practically. Think about something interesting or funny that happened to you recently. Like maybe your car wouldn't start, or you tried cooking something new and it failed spectacularly. Practice telling this little story out loud. Here's one for me, okay? So last weekend, I thought I'd impress my family by cooking dinner. Nothing too crazy, just roasted chicken with vegetables. I'd watched a YouTube video the night before and thought, easy. I've got this. So I started chopping, seasoning, doing the whole chef routine. But then I got distracted by my phone, scrolled a bit too long, and forgot to take the chicken out of the oven. When I finally opened the door, boom, smoke everywhere. The chicken was basically a black rock. The kitchen smelled like a campfire. My smoke detector went off, my kid walked in and asked, "Are we having burnt food again?" And I just stood there like, "Yep, dinner is..." toast. In the end, we ordered pizza. Again. But hey, I now have a new story to tell, and next time I'll set a timer.
Absolutely. And here's another deep tip to really accelerate your fluency. Learn to recover quickly from mistakes. This is critical because mistakes will always happen. Fluency isn't about avoiding mistakes, it's about dealing with them smoothly. Let me give you a real example. A friend of mine who's actually really good at English was telling me about her morning. She meant to say, I made coffee and drank it while reading emails. But what came out was, I drank emails and made coffee. And for a second, she froze. You could see the embarrassment on her face. But then she just laughed and said, Wait, what did I just say? I definitely didn't drink emails. I meant coffee. Wow, long morning. And just like that, the tension disappeared. We laughed, the conversation continued, and honestly, that little mistake made her sound even more natural. Because here's the thing, mistakes feel big in your head, but to everyone else, they're just part of the moment. If you can learn to smile, fix it lightly, and move on, you teach your brain that speaking doesn't have to be perfect to be successful. You become more relaxed, more confident, and that's where real fluency lives. Not in perfection, but in recovery.
Right, so let's put this all together. Fluency isn't about speed or perfection. It's about smoothness, comfort, and being able to express yourself clearly and confidently, even when things don't go exactly as planned, using conversational chunks, naturally using fillers, thinking directly in English every day, practicing mini storytelling, and learning to recover quickly from mistakes. These aren't just small tricks. They're powerful strategies that can genuinely transform how fluent you feel when you speak.
And here's the cool thing. Once you start using these habits regularly, you'll notice conversations getting easier and easier. You'll still make mistakes, of course, but they won't bother you as much. You'll find yourself feeling relaxed, even spontaneous, and before you know it, fluency will become a natural part of your English.
Exactly. And to help you get started, let's take a quick look at some useful English chunks you can actually use in real life.
Hi there, it's Suzy. Ready for a fun little bonus? I've got 5 real-life phrases to help you sound more natural and fluent. And yep, you can start using them today. Phrase 1. By the way. Use this when you want to add something that's not directly related to the main topic. Example, by the way, I saw your message. Thanks. When to use it? In casual conversations, when changing the topic or adding something extra. Phrase 2. You know what I mean? A casual way to ask if someone understands or agrees with you. Example, sometimes my brain just shuts down mid-sentence, you know what I mean? When to use it? After expressing a thought or emotion, especially something funny, awkward, or frustrating. Phrase 3. I mean, use it to clarify, correct yourself, or give more explanation. Example, I wasn't late. I was, but just by 5 minutes. When to use it? When your thoughts are a little messy, but you're trying to explain them smoothly. Phrase 4. Kind of like. Use it to give an example or comparison that makes your idea clearer. Example. It's kind of like when you know the answer, but your mouth won't say it. When to use it? During stories or explanations helps make things more relatable. Phrase 5. That's the thing. You say this when you're pointing out the key issue or your main idea. Example, that's the thing. I can speak English, just not fluently, yet. When to use it? Before making an important point, especially in a personal or emotional context. Practice saying them out loud, or even better, use them in a conversation this week. The more you use them, the more fluent you'll sound. Let's go.
All right, now that you've got some real life phrases to try, let's make this week count.
Yup, time for your fluency challenge.
Exactly. So here's a little challenge for you this week. Choose just one of these deeper fluency habits to practice. Maybe it's speaking in chunks or telling mini stories each day, or even learning to recover smoothly from little mistakes. Whatever you pick, commit to trying it consistently this week, even in just casual chats with friends or colleagues. Then tell us about it. We always love hearing from you and learning what worked best.
Absolutely, your stories motivate us too. Remember, fluency grows best through practice, not perfection. So keep going, stay relaxed, and let's grow your English fluency together.
Yeah, definitely let us know. And if this episode helped you, share it with someone who's working on their fluency too. English grows faster when we practice together. Thanks for hanging out today. Stay soft, stay curious, and let's get fluent together.